Can't wait for the finals tonight. Should be a great series. It appears that way on paper. Boston, 23rd trip to the finals. Now you get Porzingis back. What a shot in the arm to go 76-20 on the season. And you get this guy back now as well. In the 2 meetings in the regular season, Boston won both. 119-110 on January 22nd and 138-110 on March 1st. That was after Luka's birthday. You can also throw that out because, the deadline hadn't happened, and then one of the games. And then after the deadline is really when Dallas took off with the number 1 defense in the league, points per 100 possessions, and they found themselves with the right lineups. And here they are as a 5 seed and 30-1 in April to play for the right to win it all. So Boston was great in the regular season with the matchups. Tatum had 39, 11, and 15 in the road game. He had 32, 8, and 3. Brown had 25 in the blowout win. Porzingis had 24. And we'll get to Luka, who was phenomenal in the 2 losses. Would you put Holiday on Kyrie? What would you do if you, from a defensive standpoint, if you're Boston with the number 2 defense in the league, and also the big news that you get Porzingis back? How would you try to contain Kyrie and Luka, who've been so good in the playoffs?
Well, one thing I would do is double Luka a lot, make him give the ball up as much as possible. I don't think the T-Wolves did that nearly enough, especially on that last shot in Game 2 when they put Rudy Gobert on him and on the perimeter. But, I would say Drew Holiday is probably the better matchup for Kyrie. You got Jaylen Brown and plenty of guys you could switch off on Luka. And I'd start the series by playing it that way.
Uh-huh.
You know what? The first 2 meetings between these teams really don't mean much to me at all because it was so long ago.
Yep.
When you think about it, we're into June now, and these teams have changed since then. Paul, it's kind of like when you have a matchup in March in college in the NCAA tournament, and you look back at the college basketball season and say, well, these teams met in December or January. Who cares, right? It really doesn't matter what happened the first time around. It's just an interesting reference point, but these teams have changed so much, and Dallas is much better defensively, especially in the interior than it was earlier.
Yep. Now, does this Jones-Washington thing continue as well, and also Lively? Now, what Jones has done with the corner threes, and we talked about it all week, that Dallas, number 1 in the league, playoffs as well, how they've been so good with the corner threes, and Boston is excellent at guarding the corner 3. But Jones 45%, Washington 41%. That's important because I think that's who they're going to put KP on. So, does he minimize that and Luka attacking and kicking it out with the 3? And that probably decides the series, who shoots the 3 so well in this series, because Boston's number 1 in 3-point attempts and makes, in the second best percentage. They are averaging 14 makes a game in the playoffs and 40 attempts. So it will be bombs away in this series. But I'll ask you, do you think it could be a big series, and how do you think it'll go for Jones, who you covered when he played out here in UNLV, and also Washington, who was great against OKC, but he wasn't asked to do much against Minnesota. It was just a dynamic duo who carried him in the short series and winning in 5.
Well, I think you just said the key in the middle of what you were talking about there. The team that shoots the threes better is probably going to win the series. And if the Celtics are hot from 3, they're probably going to win this thing. I would think the Mavericks just got to be better in terms of their perimeter defense, and just everywhere you defend the Celtics around the 3-point line, just don't let them get open looks. And Dallas is probably going to be okay on the defensive end because the Celtics are so, I think, gun-shy to drive to the rim, knowing that this Dallas defense is so tough in the paint. They're going to be okay shooting 45 threes a game. They got to make more than 15 per game if they're going to win this series. You can't shoot 33% from 3 and think that's going to be enough. I don't know if you can count on Derek Jones to hit those threes like he did in the Minnesota series. I would say you cannot count on that.
Yep.
Washington, you probably can count on him to knock down his share of threes, but
especially if the 7-footer's on you with that length too. How about the other standpoint, from the other angle? What about the Dallas bigs? Can they have success? Remember, Lively was 16 of 16.
I think they can have a lot of success in this series.
Now,
and that's where I think the Mavericks probably going to have the edge, and that's why I think Dallas is live dog in the series, because when you're tougher in the paint And you got the best player on the floor right now in Luka, even
No
though
doubt.
it's by a slim margin. That's why you should be a live dog.
No doubt. And I think 6.5's a lot tonight, and you took the 6.5.
Well, like I said, I'll take the 6.5 tonight. I took it. And if the Mavericks lose, I'll take it again in game 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you that you throw out what happened with the 2 matchups a regular season, but I have to look at this from a prop standpoint, and plenty of props coming up in 5 minutes, and we got the creativity with these books, phenomenal, and stuff you can parlay. In the 2 regular season meetings, Luka had 37, 12, and 11, and 33, 18, and 13. He's minus 250 to have a double-double tonight. He's minus $7 to lead the series in assists. I mean, and the run this guy's on, and I'll run it down coming up in 5 minutes, but his props here and how this guy has gone off. And remember, he was playing with a bad knee, and he struggled from 3 to start those first 2 rounds, but got it going late in the OKC series. When he can get to the basket, and also how he passes, the corner threes, but the alley-oops. Dallas is number 1 in alley-oop dunks. Can Boston take that away? Does Lively continue to go off down low? Does Gafford get stuff going? The pressure that Luka puts on the defense. And Boston in the playoffs allowing 71% at the rim with the shots. So that's cause for concern now that you're going against these guys, because look who it was. I mean, you didn't even face Allen in the second round. So that's guards attacking, getting to the rim and penetrating, and also some big guys responsible for Miami, Cleveland, and Indiana shooting 71% at the rim in the playoffs. And here comes Dallas, and oh, by the way, Lively was just 16-16 from the floor in the Western Conference Finals. That would concern me big time up from Boston.
Look, we talked about this yesterday. Look at how effective the Pacers were in their 2-point shooting. They got almost anything they wanted at the rim. And the Mavericks are going to be more effective than the Pacers, I believe. And so that's going to be a key point in this series. When you're a little soft in the middle, that's going to be a concern. How about this, Paul? Since the Mavericks lost that road game to the Clippers in L.A. to open the playoffs, they're 7-1 straight up in ATS on the road, underdog in all 8 games, and have won 7 of the 8.
Oh, wow. That is strong. That's no doubt. That's very impressive. What
last
they've done.
16 playoff games for the Mavericks. Last 16 playoff games have lost 1 by 6 points or more. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe it doesn't mean much. Every good trend comes to an end, but that does indicate that the Mavericks are playing really good basketball on the road. They're fearless on the road.
Okay, how about the total? At some spots, right away, it opened 212, touched 215, and now it's at 214.5. When you look at what they've done, turnovers, fewest turnover rate. Boston number 1, Dallas number 4. They also don't force turnovers defensively. Boston number 1 in transition defense. There's a lot of shot makers here, and a lot of guys who can knock down threes, and you just see what Tatum and Brown have done, and Luka and Kyrie. Any thoughts on the total, not only in Game 1, but how the series could play out if it's high scoring, middle of the back? What do you see? What are your thoughts on the total?
Well, my thoughts on the total are if the Celtics are hot from 3, it's probably going to go over. You're going to have a faster paced game. I'd be inclined to bet under. It's 215 at DraftKings, 214.5 at Circa. I see a 216 out there on the screen. Actually, what I really want to do is get Tim Legler's thoughts on the total, because I think he's probably going to have some insight into, at what pace, what score we think this game's going to be played at tonight. Luckily, we have a great guest on the final hour of the show.
Yes, can't wait for that. Yeah. No one better than Legler. So that's Tatum also. Listen, I know there's so many great storylines here, but Porzingis against his former team, Kyrie against his former team. The Boston fans are going to be all over him tonight. Tatum admitted he's feeling the pressure because what if they lose and he doesn't? I got that. He said it. But also, Boston, you could have had Anthony Davis. You could have had George, Butler, KD, Kawhi. You said, no, we're going to keep all these guys together. And here you are, so they deserve credit for that. But full marks to Dallas when they were crucified for what they did with Brunson. And here it's worked out, and you get Kyrie, and you tanked, and that worked out, and you landed Lively, and here they are too.